privilege to turn the service over to Sister Rose. Please welcome her as she comes.
God is so good. Yes, we are blessed. I tell you what, this is a great time in spite of everything we're going through. It couldn't be better. I am thankful that God is with us in spite of everything. He's our confidant. He's our strength. He's our everything. What we do without him? Life is not worth living if he's not in it. So we're thankful for all of you that are here today. Hope that you came to receive, because he will not disappoint you. God is so good. All righty, let's go to the 13th chapter of Nehemiah. Father, we're so thankful this morning for your blessings, for all that you've done for us. We thank you because you've never, ever failed us. You've been there for us, loving us, strengthening us, and being our best friend. And we pray now, God, for every person in this building, that you would touch their lives in a special way. I pray, God, that you would minister to your people, and we'll give you glory and honor. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. The 13th chapter of Nehemiah, on that day they read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people, and therein was found written that the Ammonite and the Moabite should not come into the congregation of God forever, because they met not the children of Israel with bread and with water, but hired Balaam against them, that he should curse them. Howbeit, our God turned the curse into a blessing. Now it came to pass, when they had heard the law, that they separated from Israel all the mixed multitude. I'm going to preach a little while this morning. When everybody hears the word, it causes you to make a change. Now, we see that when Israel came out of Egypt, a lot of folks came up with them that were not Israelites. They mingled in for various reasons. And even to this day, you got people that come to church for various reasons. Some come because they think they're going to get something, or something good's going to happen. Maybe I'll meet my boyfriend there. I don't think so. And so all these things happen, and people come to church for so many different reasons. So I cannot say enough to you, but this says that when Israel heard the law being read, they separated themselves. They realized something was wrong. The people that came out of Egypt, some of these people had been down there a long time, just like they had. Can you imagine praying a prayer for 430 years? That's a long time to pray. We get tired of praying in a short time, a few weeks, few days, few hours. But these people prayed, God delivered them. So now we think sometimes that everything, no matter what it looks like, should be a part of a church. I think everybody should come to church, but not everybody is a part of the church. So I think that's what you have to understand. Everybody that comes does not come because they're looking for God for various reasons. And so sometimes it's because of a crisis in their life. They come to church. But I think we get it mixed up when we just say everybody is a member. No, everybody is not a member. The body of Christ is limited to what it allows in. The scripture says, whosoever will, let him come. But the world's inclusion that they do, they don't care what you do. You ain't got to change. You ain't got to make no adjustments. You ain't got to do nothing. Just come on in as you are. That should not happen. As a result of that, we end up with a lot of sin in the church, a lot of dirt, a lot of things that's not right. Because everybody that's anybody, just come on in and take a seat. And we welcome that. But we also want you to understand that you got to get saved to be a part of. This is the body of Christ. So what do I have to do to be a part of it? I've got to commit my life. I've got to make a commitment. Then you can become a part of something, but not until then. So the church now is about inclusion, inclusiveness. So just include everybody. We're all members of the same church, but we all do crazy things. That shouldn't be. Now, we're living in a time when the leaders let everyone become a member, regardless of whether they want to live right or whether the church is so polluted because of inclusion. That's what we're seeing more and more of these days. Sometimes I've had people say to me, Sister Rose, I want to sing in the choir. We'd love for you to sing in the choir, but you got to get saved. You got to get born again. Because anybody can sing, but not everybody can enter into a place of worship and worship God. So inclusion for the world is not a bad thing. You know what? You got to bring in some of everybody and that's a good thing. But we kind of mix that up sometime with including everybody when it comes to the house of God. I would wish every sinner in this city would come to church. But I'd wish that every sinner would get saved and be born again. Listen how the world looks at inclusion, and I think it's a positive. It said inclusion is seen as a universal human right. The aim of inclusion is to embrace all people irrespective of race, gender, disability, medical, or other need. It is about giving equal access and opportunities and getting rid of discrimination and intolerance and remove the barriers that divides us. It affects all aspects of public life. So that is a good rule. The thing is, this same rule also tells you you can pretty much do what you want to do. You can't. That won't work in God's church. You can't do anything you want to do. You got to honor him. You got to find out what the word says we're supposed to do as Christians. It is telling us what we need to do. Inclusion is also the culture in which the mix of people can come to work, feel comfortable, confident, to be themselves, work in a way that suits them, and deliver to you what your needs are. Listen to this. In the world, it's a mix of people feeling comfortable, confident, to be themselves. I can just be me. They say, I just want to be me. Well, God says, I want to change me. I want to change you into a new person. He can do it. He wants to do it. I'm glad he put the rule in there to change me, because I wouldn't be one of the people you would like. So I had to be changed. He changed my life and made me the person that I am today. And I'm telling you, there's nothing in the world like it. Nobody can change us but God. Human nature, we don't just change. We may say, I'm going to do better, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. But at the end of the day, I think Pete was talking about the other night, we don't have the power to do it. So we've got to have a different, somebody that's going to stand there and say, I can change you from within. When you get changed from within, you're not the same person. Everything is different. If we teach and preach to people in this hour how important it is for you to be changed. Jesus said everybody must be born again. We must be. Nicodemus was kind of stupid. He said, can I go back up into my mother's womb? Come on, what mother's looking for that? A grown man talking about if I could just, do I have to go back up in my mother's womb and be born? How dumb are you? No, that's not even possible. Listen, but I think when we quit going to church feeling like I just want to be made to be okay the way I am. The PTL club, when their whole saying was, God loves you just the way you are. If he had loved us just the way we are, he wouldn't have came to change us. He had to change us. There are some things about us that's not so nice. I think if we all dealt with that and deal with ourselves and say, yeah, there's some things about me that's not nice. And what am I going to do about it? I'm just going to change it. No, you're not. You think you are. I told you how I was. I was so mean and so ornery and so evil, and all the bad names you could give me, I was. I couldn't change that or fix it. I tried. I thought I got to do better than this. I got to be a better person, nice to people, do things right. I really wanted to, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I found myself in the same place over and over again. So I think we want people to feel comfortable. Yeah, you should feel a sense of comfort because you're in the presence of God. But don't get comfortable in your sins. That's not what this is about. Okay, it says, if we bring anything in and endorse it, it's a problem. It is a problem. To make people feel good, the man that did the landscaping at our house said to me, he went to New Life Church. I haven't been there, but I went by what he said. He said, it's a feel-good church. He said, Sister Rose, everything there makes you feel good. But if you bad, you shouldn't feel good. Because when you leave, you should feel like, I need to change. I need to do something different. Yes. So when the word is preached, actually the unadulterated word, people are going to change. You cannot come to church and hear the word again and again and not change. It's just not going to happen. Okay? So that's why I tell people, keep coming. We're not saying because you're a sinner you can't come. Keep coming. It will change your life. Because when the word comes, Paul said, I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Why? It is the power of God unto salvation. I'm not ashamed. This gave me power over sin. This gave me power over Saul. I am now Paul because I'm a changed person. Yes. The people that don't want to commit to God will never stay where the word is being preached. They'll either get in or they'll get out. If they stay and they don't get right, and preachers just let you continue to sit there and continue to sin, the church becomes polluted. That's why the scripture says a little leaven, just a little leaven, leaveneth the whole lump. And so when sin gets there, just a little sin leaveneth the whole lump. So you cannot isolate sin. It can't be isolated. If it's there, somebody's going to feel like I've been affected. Just like you're affected by good things that people do, you're affected by wrong things that people do. In our society, when it's wrong people running around society doing crazy things, it affects the entire society. So that's why we have places that we take these people off the street, put them somewhere, or do whatever. But the bottom line is they got to change in here. Because you can isolate them if you want to. But that man or that woman is the same person for sure. Listen. But if we say, I'm willing to make a change. If you're willing to make a change, God wants to make you have one. It's not difficult. And so another thing for inclusion will ensure that everyone feels valued and important. You can have that in the church too, but you got to get right with God. Yeah, then you'll feel valued and important. In God's plan, it is one rule for everybody. So it's not one for you, another one for you, and this one over here and that one over here. None of those. One rule, it says cross the board. It applies to everybody. In our justice system, we don't have that. They'll say nobody's above the law. That's not true. We know that through experience. That's not true. So I said, well, everybody, but why is people constantly getting away with stuff? Who's got some money or they're rich or whatever? Why do they get away with it if everybody's not above the law? So it's important to have leadership that's doing it right. Because if I do it right, then the people that follow me will do it right. But if I set a negative or bad example, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. And so what comes from the pulpits of America is vitally important. Vitally important. And sometimes we just kind of let things go. We'll just let it go. Let people do what they want to do. I don't think so. I don't think that's what God called us to do. See? In the world's inclusion is one size fits everybody. Not true in the kingdom. Not true. Not true. We've got one thing true enough. But how it fits you is how you put it on. It's what you yield to. What you commit to. That's what it is. So when I look at them, I'm thinking God's plan of inclusion is whosoever will, let him come. Let everybody come, but when you come, you got to get right. He's not telling you to everybody come that wants, who needs something. Whosoever will, let him come. He's saying, if you got a need, come to me. Not you don't have to be somehow included because he said whosoever will. Yeah, he did. But I think if we don't understand that and say, you know what, I gotta check myself. I tell our church members, don't go out and say you're a member of this church when you're doing stuff wrong. That's poor representation of the kingdom. We owe it to God. Yes. We owe it to God to do it right. I think if the Israelites had came up out of Egypt and left that junk down there, they'd have been better off. But if you'll notice, if you read scripture throughout there was all different types of people that Moses spoke to because of what was going on. There was somebody who wanted to go back to Egypt. He had to speak to them. There was somebody who wanted to scream at the Egyptians and fight them. No, be still. And somebody else over here wants to do this and do that. No, don't do that. God's going to take care of you. Your enemy you see today, you won't see him no more. So there's all these things was in the say. Now let me tell you this. It says, if you do, God has a plan. Let me put that. God has a plan that will suit you, but you won't necessarily like it if you don't put it on. You got to change. You got to put on a new garment, a new person. I'm not the same person no more. See? So he says, what we got to do is follow the rule of law. That's what it says. Whether it suits you or not, it's the law. You know what I heard so much of this? You can't do that. It's the law. Really? You no way you could do that. It's the law. I said, since when did that matter? People breaking the law all over the country and getting away with it. Everywhere, in our government, in our families, everywhere, people are breaking the law. So, what they tell us, what is the rule of the law? Rule of law. The rule of law is a principle under which all persons, institutions, and entities are accountable to laws that are publicly promulgated. And so what that means is they promote or make widely known what the law is. And then they set that forth or teach publicly a creed or a doctrine that they claim is equally enforced, but it is not. If it's not equally enforced, we got a division in our country. In our homes. If I let one of my kids come in the house and you can break the rule. You have your cake and ice cream and all that before we serve dinner. Well, the next one comes up and says, well, I want to eat like that too. So I have to stop it from the top down and say, you can't do it because this one's coming, and say, well, Mama, why did they do it? They did it. You got to set the rule for everybody. You can't stay out all times of the night. You got to come in. You can't drink booze in my house. You can't make booze in my house. This is my house. I'm boss. I'm the one in charge. You know what happens? When parents just tell the kids, well, just be yourself. Do whatever you want. That's not good. Because some of your children being themselves is not a pretty picture. That's the truth. I started out with my twins very young because my twins were one was very easy and soft, and the other one was mean as a puppy. And that's Lamont sitting over there. Yeah, he was a character. But he always had an innocent look. He had these great big eyes because he was so little when he was born. He was a preemie. And he had these great big eyes like this, like he's seeing everything. And you would think that gosh, that's a good kid. No, he wasn't. And so my mind go back to when I had them, and the doctor, when I went to pick them up, because they had to stay in the hospital for almost 3 months because they were preemies, and I had to, when I saw the doctor had one in each hand coming down the corridor, and they barely fit in his hand, and he seemed like this boy's so tiny and so innocent. Before he could get a year old, he was mean as a puppy, and it was showing it. And the other twin was real soft-spoken. Of course, she had her issues too. We found out later. But but Monk was so mean, and he was quietly mean. You would never think it's because he keeps this look. And you think, well, that's just a little hard. So my mom came out to visit with me, and she said, goes back home and tell everybody, Rose is really mean to that little boy twin. I said, no, I'm not. Why would I as a mother be mean to my own kids? That's not true. I thought, you don't know Lamont. I know him. I gave birth to him, and I've been watching this little fella as he grows, and he's a mean puppy. They're sitting there one day, and Nita's sitting by him, and he reaches over to pinch Nita, and he keeps a straight face, and he's steady pinching her, looking just like this. And she said, stop it, Mont. Stop, Mont. He just keeps doing. And you think, what is she telling him to stop for? 'Cause he don't look like he heard a flea. But I thought, no, that's a mean kid. Some parents say, I don't want to call my child mean because they'll grow up thinking they're mean. Really? They'll grow up with the truth that they are mean? Yeah, let's hope they change it. But that's what it is when God is trying to work with us to change us. Some of us look so innocent. You look at them and say, isn't she a sweet person? No. That's right. We had a lady in our church, Miss Barbara. She looked, of course, she didn't look sweet. But a lady came to our church that didn't know her and said, she is the nicest person. I said, no, she's not. She's hard to get along with. And she don't like to listen. She's 70-something years old. You need to start understanding and following God when you're young, because when you get old, you get so set in your way, you don't want to listen to nobody. So he said, remember your Creator in the days of thy youth. Remember him while you're young, because as you get older, you're going to be a problem. We have some old people in our church, and for the most part, they're sweet people. Sometimes. Yes. But every once in a while, you'll rub them. You know how you do when you rub your cat and it do this? That's the way people do when you because they seem so smooth and you just rub and rub, and after a while they come up. That means whatever you said, I don't like it. And if you, as a preacher, don't get to the place where you don't care whether they like it or not, here's the truth. It's going to help you. I told Clint the truth. I had to rebuke him and reprove him, and I got flowers. How is that? I was thinking about that this morning. I rebuked him very hard for something he did was wrong, and I let him have it. I didn't let up on him, and then I got flowers saying, I love you. Wow. Because you made me look at myself. You made me take a look at who I am. Yes. Not out to hurt, to help. And God's trying to help us, and we're trying to give him a hard time by humping up like the cat. Just let it down, because he's not going to give up. See, there's a plan. But you know what? It makes us work in the house of God. We don't have people fighting each other, people talking behind each other's back. We don't have that. And we don't need that in the church setting. You should be able to come to church and be able to get along with each other, love each other. You shouldn't be fighting among yourselves. Paul said, at least you find out that you will devour one another if you keep doing this. We got to love each other, come together, put our arms around each other, be there to help in every way we can. And you can't do that without the love of God. When you get the love of God in you, I'm telling you, it makes all the difference in the world. So listen. So they say, The rule of law is a maxim suggests that no one is above the law. In God's kingdom, nobody is above truth. Nobody's going to let you get away with it. He's going to deal with me. He's going to deal with you. Whoever we are, he's going to deal with us for who we are. So what do I want to do? I'm going to do it right so God don't have to reprove me. He don't have to rebuke me because I'm doing it right. I made a lot of enemies along the way as a pastor. Because sometimes I just had to sit down and say, okay, tell me what happened with you. Tell me what happened with you. I listen to both sides. So it's always two sides to a story. So one person comes saying something, wait before you believe that till you hear the other side. Then you can deal with people fairly. That this is what's wrong here. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to have to say what is wrong and what's right. And maybe that's you and maybe that's you, but it is what it is. See, but that's going to build for a good church, for good fellowship, with us loving each other, not loving one more than the other one. The rule of law is meant to prevent dictatorship and to protect the rights of other people. No, this is America. We don't want any one person ruling us. We need a government combined together that keeps the checks and balances working. Otherwise, we got problems. So thank God for that piece right there. That sounds good to me. Listen. But God said, if I let you bring in anything and endorse it, there's going to be a problem. God was with the children of Israel. He was fighting their battles for them. They were winning against their enemy and everything until Rome got in that camp. And they went to sneaking around doing it. You can't have sneaks in the church. You got to have enough of the Spirit of God to recognize the sneak when it's going between the pews. Yes. And Joshua's down there calling God and questioning, Lord, what are your enemies? I mean, what are we going to say when our enemies are coming against us and they're defeating us? No, get up off your face. I'm not your problem. Do we not always want to blame God for all the issues that's going on in this world? No, let's stop and look at us. So he said, Joshua, get up off your face. Yeah, I've been with you and I will continue to be with you, but not when the camp gets polluted. If it gets polluted, I won't be a part of it. So here's Achan. He done stole some of the things that God told them. Don't touch that. Don't touch that. It's a curse. I don't want it, any parts of it. They went and got it anyway. Achan said, I saw a goodly Babylonish garment that I like and some silver and what have you, and I stole it and hid it. You can never hide sin from God. It will never work. So he hid it in the earth, but he didn't say anything about it because he thought nobody would know and I could do this and get away with it. That's what he thought. But listen, then God said to Joshua, this is a leader. Get up, remove the accursed thing from you. God said, Joshua, get rid of the accursed thing. He didn't know what the accursed thing was. He didn't know what had been done. It had been hid. But then they found out by doing a test. And then Achan comes and says, yeah, I did this. You know what? The sin that you do will affect your children as well. Because you know what? Everybody got removed. Everybody paid the price for it. So when we say, well, I'm doing this, but I'm not hurting anybody but myself. That's not true. Sin hurts other people. Sin is a reproach to any people. Righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin destroys us. So Joshua had to get up, take care of business. And he said, back in the day, we don't live in that day no more, but back in the day, they took him out and stoned him to death. My daughter said sometimes, boy, I wish we had the old-fashioned rule. I said, no, you're not going to have that. Yeah, because sometimes people do you so bad and say so many things against you, God, could you institute that again? That's never going to be put back in place. And so now he says, get up, stone him to death. Him and all his family. Little did he know the sin he was committing, all of them was going to pay for it. So you as a parent, what you do wrong affects your children. What you do wrong against your parents affects you and affects other people. So I got to do this right if I expect to have a good place. A good home life is where people respect each other and love each other. That's important. Very, very important. So when I look at that and think about that, I'm thinking, okay, so does there not have to be a rule for the house of God that if we include any and everything come in and do what they want to do, and they don't respect the word, they don't respect right and wrong, they won't make a commitment to God, that's a problem. You can sit down beside somebody in church that's depressed, and you'll think, well, why do I feel so? I didn't feel bad like this before I came to church. Just turn to the left or to the right. See who's sitting there. Oh, how do they look? If they looking like this, you got a problem. And so sometimes you affected just by somebody being next to you that's not together. Somebody that's depressed. Somebody that's done things they shouldn't have done. And they sit down beside you and they affect your whole attitude. And sometimes you think, well, what's wrong? When I came in, I was so excited and happy. Look, see who's sitting by you. Because the person there may not be praying. They may not be doing it right according to the word, and it affects our lives. You can have worship and praise service, and you got somebody out there that just ain't into it. And they're looking at you like, what's all this about? I mean, giving you this look like, calm down. Because they don't have a clue. You got to say, I'm going to praise God anyway, but why are we going to have a weight beside us? The prophet Ezekiel said, my face, God said, will I turn also from them, and they shall pollute my secret place. For the robbers shall enter into it and defile it. Pollution is about uncleanness. It is about dirty stuff. We can't have it. He told Ezekiel one time, he said, go look over there in the wall, Ezekiel. He said, you will see the ancients, meaning the older people in the church, you will see them committing sin in my house. It's bad when preachers commit sin from the pulpit and then stand up there and tell you what you shouldn't do. Don't you dare tell somebody what they shouldn't do unless you're not doing it. Yeah. So the scripture plainly makes it plain. It says, if you teach somebody something, teach it you not yourself. If I'm preaching against sin, is it not talking to me too? But if I start up here condoning sin and letting it happen, everybody's affected by it. You know what? The church ended up over the years respecting me for the fact that I didn't let nobody get away with it. Nobody. I never had picks. You didn't mean more to me than this person. Because if you don't have respect for the person, you can treat everybody right. You can treat everybody right. And it doesn't matter if they're black, white, red, or yellow. Wrong is just wrong. It's not a color. It's just wrong. And if we have this in the house of God, that we're dealing with this like this, rest assured, we're going to have a good church. A good church we come to, and when I look over at my sister, I feel nothing but love for you. When I look at you, I feel love for you. It doesn't matter where I look, I love everybody. God spoke through the mouth of Ezekiel. He said, speak unto the house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will profane my sanctuary, the excellency of your strength, the desire of your eyes, that which your soul pitieth, and your sons and your daughters whom you have left shall fall by the sword. I will get you for what you have done in my house. And we wonder sometimes why our children come to a bad end. Some of them come to a bad end because you wasn't an example. We got to be an example. Now, at best, after you've been an example, you got some crazy kids. And you have to acknowledge that, oh, that's one of the crazy ones. We have to deal with that. Just because your name is Judy Uki don't mean you won't have perfect kids. It's not going to happen. I think nothing is more disappointing than you to have all these dreams for your children, but they don't do any of them. Yes. David said, O God, the heathen are coming to thine inheritance. Thy holy temple have they defiled. They have laid Jerusalem on heaps. we are completely destroyed. Because the heathen come in. Who are the heathen? The people that are not Christians. The people that haven't committed to God. So understand this, you are responsible for the person sitting next to you. You're responsible for how people view Colorado Springs Fellowship. You are responsible, I am responsible as a leader, what I do and how I carry myself, that it never bring a reproach against the church or the people you lead. Never do that. So we all got some responsibility here. But if we let things just go and just let it go and leave it that way, it's not just going to get better unless you do something about it. If something's stinking in your refrigerator, I mean, you can do everything you want to and get you something out there to drink and everything. The smell is still there until you get the rotten thing that's sitting back in there out of that refrigerator. You're going to have a smell. And you know what? After a while, anything else that's in the refrigerator begins to take on that odor. It's automatic. It's like, what is this? You picked this up. Ain't nothing wrong with this, but it stinks. That's because it's rotten. We have rotten people in the churches. Spoiled. Want to be catered to. Want you to pat me on my back and tell me I'm okay. Sister Rose, please, honey, don't tell me about myself. Yes, I am. We can't get it straight if we don't talk about it. It don't take a lot to pollute something, a little bit, and it starts spreading. Sin is contagious. It spreads everywhere. You get a little bit over here and it spreads everywhere. Why do you think the scripture says bad communication corrupts good manners? So if we're communicating with each other, understand, bad communication, who you talking to, who you associated with, who do you spend your time with in the course of a week. It's amazing the interaction we have, be it on our jobs or be it with friends or whatever. And at the end of the week, you're going to find out exactly why do I feel this way. It's what you've been around. We want to be in a good atmosphere, good environment. Has a lot to do with how we live our lives. That's what I told my husband one time. He said, he was in the military, and we were flying into Oklahoma. And he said, Rose, let me go ahead and put it to you like this. He said, you're not getting ready to have me spending up all my money getting a house we can't afford. I said, no, I want us to afford it, but we ain't going to get where you want to go. Because he'll tell a kid, you ain't got nothing to complain about. You got more than I had when I was a kid. That ain't going to help me. So you got more, so come on. So he says, no, I said, I just want a decent environment for my kids. I want a decent place to live. I'm not asking you to go bankrupt because you ain't going to do that. We just want a decent place. He get ready, I go look at something. How much is that, bro? How much is that? Said, don't worry about it. I got this. I got it. If they tell you, if anything else added to that, I'm getting the whole scope, baby. Just chill. I'm getting it together. I'm not getting ready to put us somewhere where we can't afford it. But I am going to pick where I live. Because my kids turn out they come out producing what they had on in their environment. See, I happen to be a person that was different because we were raised in a very bad area in St. Louis, Missouri. Very bad area. But you know what? This is what I told myself. I'm going to change that. When I'm grown, I'm going to change that. And if I ever have kids, I'm going to change that. That was my goal in life. When my husband's cousin came out here for the funeral, she said, you remember what you used to say all the time? I said, no. You used to say all the time, I'm going to get out. Get out of what? This environment. It's just a bunch of gangsters and people living crazy and it's just horrible. I don't want to have to live like this, and you don't have to. You set some goals for yourself and then stay with it. And make up in your mind, I can do better than this. Are you going to have some people to oppose you along the way? Of course. Don't be alarmed at the people that try to keep you from obtaining your goal. But I got to get there because I don't need to stay in this condition. I need to get out. Yeah. So long-term polluted areas causes all kind of sickness and disease and heart disease and lung disease. It causes all kind of stuff. Well, how do you think it affects the church the same way over a period of time? For long-term, you're going to become completely polluted. I want to be different. It takes courage to be different. And somebody is going to fight you all the way saying, I don't know where you think you're going. You don't come over here. I don't like it when you put people down just because they happen to be a little less fortunate than you are. And they do that in the church. People come in, they don't have on certain kind of clothes or carry themselves a certain way. People have a tendency to go a high-sidity dummy in the church. Why do you do that? Anybody in any condition should be able to come in the church and you put your arms around them and love these people. Yes. That's a fact. That's a fact. I know that without a doubt because I've been in that position where somebody that was less fortunate comes and we treat them like a heck. One of my neighbors said to me, and not this one at all, but one of them said after he moved up there, he was retired from the military, and he said, the man next door said to him, how did you get up here? He said, how did I get up here? I bought a house, whether you like it or not. And he said, the man said, usually your kind don't come up here. Your kind. You put me in a category. My kind, what kind is that? The same way they do in the church. Now, you see what they got on, you see this, you see. And since when did what I wear define who I am? It's not true. James said, one coming to your assembly, and he's dressed nice, and you said, come over here and sit here. But another comes in, and he's not dressed so nice, or don't look like what you call nice, and you make him sit on the back seat or under the stool. He said, this ought not to be in the church. We got divisions all over the church. You got cliques. I immediately, when I see a clique, say, break that up. No, that's bad news. You get a clique, you got people that'll stand together even when somebody's wrong. Because this is my friend. We're real good friends. Yeah, but do I stand with you when you're wrong? That's what happens. Sometimes it happens with children and their parents. Parents with children. But I got to, if I want to have a good environment, that somebody can come here and say, I felt better because I came. I can't tell you I feel better. For a while, we had a lot of homeless people coming here who I felt, oh my God, I can't even tell you the pain I felt every time I saw these people. And I said to our people, do not, when you pick these people up, if they haven't had a bath, treat them like they have had one. Don't go, they don't have the facilities you got. So how can they just take a bath this morning? Maybe they don't have that available. Should I now treat them bad because of that? This is a thing that's beyond their control. Churches do it all the time. We can't do that. Okay, if you make enough money, this one makes this kind of money, that one makes this. So that puts them in a certain category. No, we all the same. No matter whether you make $100,000 a year, you make $20,000, we're all the same. You got to understand, without a doubt, that God cares about his people. He really wants to be there. He wants you to be there. Reach your hand out and do what you can to help and say, I understand. Put your arms around them. Embrace them in the midst of their pain, in the midst of their poverty. Put your arms around them. Embrace these people. Say, we're the same. I don't care what it is, we're the same. Let's treat each other that way. Because somebody's less fortunate than you don't mean they're less than you. Because one person's black and another one's white don't give us any credence to say, I like you because you white, I like you because you black. No, I like everybody. Yes. Listen. Take a look at yourself. This is what he says. Say thou unto them, he said through the prophet Jeremiah, cursed be the man that obeyeth not the words of this covenant, which I commanded your fathers from the day that I brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, from the iron furnace, saying, obey my voice, do them according to all which I have commanded you, so shall ye be my people, and I will be your God. That I may perform the oath which I have sworn unto your fathers to give them a land flowing with milk and honey, as it is this day. Then answered I and said, so be it, O Lord. Then the Lord said unto me, proclaim all these words in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, saying, hear ye the words of this covenant and do them. For I earnestly protested unto your fathers in the day that I brought them up out of the land of Egypt, even unto this day, rising early and protesting, saying, obey my voice. Yet they obeyed not, nor inclined their ear, but walked every one in the imagination of their evil heart. Therefore I will bring upon them all the words of this covenant which I commanded them to do, but they did it not. He said, you know what? From the time I brought your daddy and your mama out of Egypt, I told them these are the things I want you to do. Why? You're going to the promised land. What's the condition? You got to obey me. That's right. I got something better for you on the other side, but you got to obey. Everything that we have in our life today, if it's working, is because we're doing what the word says do. There's nothing on the planet that can fix you and help you. You got to do what the word says do. I'm going to follow it. Even when I feel like I don't want to, I'm going to do it anyway. Yes. So obey. It's one rule. I got a law. I laid it down. I expect you to do it. It is the rule of law. Follow that so that you can get someplace with me. So you'll have the love in you that I have for man as a whole. What if God was divided and liked certain people and didn't like certain other ones, and then if you was poor you didn't stand a chance, and if you're rich you don't need him? All these things. Look, I come for everybody because everybody needs God. I don't care how much money you got, what your status may be, or whatever. Everybody needs God, no matter what. But sometimes I think I don't really need that. You know, I've got a good life. And why don't you want prayer when everything is going good? Why only do you want prayer when something is bad? You got to ask yourself the same question. If I want to have a good church, what am I doing to be sure that it is one? What am I giving? How am I dealing with this? So am I sure to treat my neighbor right, treat this one right, so that somebody else sees me and they follow the same pattern? Then we got people looking at each other saying, I want to be like that. I want to be like this. Boy, you're always so lovable. You got to love everybody. They don't have to fit your particular thing that you think that this is what everybody should be doing. This is what I feel. And we don't really care what you feel. Don't really care. Everybody's got an opinion. See, everybody. Now the people that came up with Israel, boy, them people, they ate of the manna and stuff, and then they start finding fault in it. Can we get anything else besides this light bread? It's like man can't be happy. I thought when I saw them people on the highway in Texas, miles of cars lined up just for food. I said to my kids, you know how blessed we are? Everybody in this church is blessed because we all have food. And I thought, you don't have nothing to complain about. You got a roof over your head. You got a bed to sleep in. You know how many people don't even have a bed? And I'm looking at all these people that's getting evicted because they can't pay their rent. This is a tragedy. And the landlords are saying, you got to get out. I'm sorry, I understand there's COVID, but you got to get out of here. I got to make money. There's no real feeling for anybody. The church should be the place they come in and say, boy, when I go there, I feel like I belong. Yeah. So some people want to be a part of it so they can be a part of the blessing, not because they want to do what's right. You know, everybody over in that church, they different. We haven't had one person lose their job during pandemic. Not one. You know, you can't look up and say, but thank God. Thank God we're still working. People don't have jobs. We have jobs. We have a church that's open. Yes. I was so glad when the Supreme Court voted this week and said churches are exempt from restrictions. I thought, if that's not good, and they're still not open. Did you hear what the Supreme Court said? It don't get higher than that. They said, you will not put a cap on how many people they can have in the church. Let these people enjoy their right to worship. So everybody else can keep it. The drunk can keep getting drunk. I mean, the one there's too much stress on them, and they now fixing some type of cocktail. What y'all call that stuff, P? It's a mix. It's a mixed drink. Because the more you mix it, the drunker you get, don't you? Well, you know. But see, he can say that, but he got saved. He got saved. Was married to my daughter. I was proud of this fellow. Good son-in-law. He of course, he remarried. Who I fully support. Yes. But this fella, he was an alcoholic like you wouldn't believe it. And we got more people turning into being alcohol during the pandemic. They're trying to drink their way through it. They're trying to do drugs to get through it. You can't do it. The only answer is God. Let's go to the one that can help us. Yes. He said, listen. They did all eat the same spiritual meat and drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of the spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. But with many of them God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. So what they had among them was people that lusted, which is automatically going to affect what's going on for your whole group. It says, and unto the Jews, no, and neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them. It is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed. They wasn't married, but they were having sex. And they all fell in one day. 23,000 people died because they didn't follow the law of God. Understand? But they came out with them. They looked like they were a part of them. So Paul said they go out from among us because they was never a part of us. So the ones that's really a part of us, they ain't going nowhere. But the ones who's not a part of you, don't be alarmed. Oh, they left. They were never a part of you. See? Don't commit fornication. Neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured and were destroyed of the destroyer. Don't spend your time murmuring and complaining. These people died in the wilderness because they couldn't stop whining and moaning about everything. See? Now all these things happened unto them in samples and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. So all of this happened to tell you, don't do that. Don't take the road they took. Don't say you're in church and you're a Christian, but you're committing having sex outside of marriage. That's a sin. But the way they give it out now, you go on, this is a new age. God ain't changed. He's still the same. He's still the same. If you want a good church, good environment, you have to create it. You work together. Preachers that God put in charge need to take a stand and say, brother or sister, you can't do that here. Well, who are you, pastor? Why somebody got to do it the way you said? No, I didn't make the rules. God made these rules. I'm supposed to enforce them. I'm supposed to tell you what they are just in case you haven't read your Bible. So by the time you get here, I'll make it clear for you. You can't walk around here and have affairs with people in the church. You'll get put out. Say, put out? Yeah. You can't do that. Well, if you can't bring your husband to church or your wife to church with you, unless Brother Joe is watching your wife, and he makes it a point to get to him after church, that should never happen. Happens in the club, in the world, not in the church. Not in the church. The best thing ever happened to us when God gave us rules. And he doesn't deter from any of them. We have to do it. We got to conform to it whether we like it or not, if you're going to make it. So I've had people come to me and tell me the stuff that happened in churches they had been in. One lady came and said, Sister Rose, could I please talk to you? She wasn't a member. But she said, could I talk to you? My husband is having an affair in this church where we're at. I said, so how's the pastor dealing with that? He said, don't worry about it. It's okay. I said, no, it's not. And she said, I thought that's not right. If you see something that's not right, get away from it. If the pastor going to endorse a fornicator and a homemonger in the church, 9 times out of 10, he's one. That's why he's endorsing it. So you got to stop and think, no. If the pastor ain't no good, the whole church is affected. If the pastor's a liar and a crook, the whole church is affected. I refuse to be one that people look at and say, she ain't no good. I know her, child. She had affairs with every man in the church. You will never be able to say that about this pastor. No. You can live right if you want to. Hi. Hello, my friend over there. I love you. Glad you're here. I'm going to get with you, though. I see your trip slowed down, didn't it? Okay, that's right time for us. Yes. But I want to say to you this morning, anybody that's sitting here and say, Sister Rose, I'd like to be a Christian too. It seemed like sometime I couldn't help it, that I didn't know if I could be, but you can be.
I'm glad that man, he didn't let teardrops fall. You know what? I know he'd find joy in every tear that I shed. Oh, seeing I'm glad that man didn't make heartaches. 'Cause I know he'd give me more. He'd give me more than I could bear. Oh, seeing I'm glad that man, he didn't create me